Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're gonna make the baby Yoda. He's actually pretty tall. He's 12 inches tall and 9 inches wide. So it's a big little guy. His coat is removable. It's hard to get him all in this picture. Or his robe, I should say, not his coat. His robe is removable, and then just to shut it, I just crossed the top of it. I did give him 3 fingers. He's going to be built in a different color. You will need 14mm safety eyes for him though. So the color I am using is, well, this is what I'm using to make them, period. It's a Bernat, and it calls for a 5mm crochet hook, and I'm going to use a 5mm crochet hook, which is an H. The color is forest green, so that is what I'm going to be using for this guy as far as his body goes. So this is going to be a 2-parter because it's not a quick, fast little project. So get your stuff together and let's get started. So we are starting with the legs. These are the little legs. We're starting with that. We're going to fasten off with one of them with just a straggler, and then the other one we're not fastening off with. But we're starting with this because we're going to crochet the 2 legs together so he stands. So you're going to need to make a magic ring. And you're going to need to put 6 single crochets in there. You're going to need a stitch marker, which I didn't get prepared for. So we're building this amigurumi, so there's no slip stitching, there's no chaining to. We're building this amigurumi style. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. So you can use a marker here, goes in after the first stitch. I'm just going to count to 12. So this straggler lets me know that I'm back around to where I need to be. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So that's number 1, and that gets your marker. And then your next stitch will be an increase. I almost dropped this and I scared myself at the same time. So your increase is 2 single crochets in the same stitch. And repeat, 1 single crochet, increase, 2 single crochets in the same space. So this gets repeated all the way around for a total of 18 stitches. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 24 stitches. So that's number 1. That's number 2. 2 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So we're going to start adding his toes in this row. You're going to start by putting your marker in. So back loop only, put in your 1 single crochet with your marker. So back loop only, let me get my thing. These are your back loops. They're standing up looking right at you. These are your front ones, so we don't need those. We just need these guys right here. So put in your next back loop stitch, single crochet. So that's 2 back loop only single crochets. For this next one, we're going to do half double crochets. And it's my rendition of the pop stitch. So you're going to yarn over, you're going to do half doubles into this stitch. So you're going to yarn over, you're going to go into the back loop only. You're going to do your half double crochet. You're going to do 3 of those in there. So those 3 half double crochets, you're going to pull up on that loop. You're going to go 3 stitches over to the first stitch you made. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Go into that. You're going to grab this loop. You're going to yarn over and pull through. And then you're going to secure it. So that's a pop stitch. So now we're going to do back loop only, 2 single crochets. Oops. Get under the back loop. This is not worsted yarn. So just pull down everything nice and tight. So 2 single crochets in the back loops only, and now we're at our next stitch. We're going to do another pop stitch. So 3 half doubles into that back loop only. Pull up on your loop, just so you can take your hook out. Count back to the first stitch, so 3. Grab the loop, pull down, and then pull through and secure it. That's your second one. Now you're going to do 2 single crochets in the back loops only. What is with this first stitch? There we go. So just push that guy up so you can get in behind him. Pull everything down tight and do your second one. And now we're going to do our third toe and our final toe. So 3 half doubles into the back loop only. This is the hardest part of the entire project. It's not hard, but for beginners it might be a little awkward. But don't shy away from this if you're a beginner. Don't let this scare you. You can do it. So yarn over and pull through and then secure it. So now you should have 15 single crochets, back loops only, back to your marker. There's a reason we have to go into the back loops. It's not just for aesthetics. So I do that just to pull down till my pop stitch pops. So that's what it should look like. You should see all your front loops. Creates this ridge around it. That's the inside. So now we're just going to continue to crochet like normal. You spread these out further and make yourself a frog. That's funny. I don't know why I just said that. So your next round is going to be, well, your next 3 rounds are going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So after this round you should have 24 stitches. This gets a little confusing as to where the stitches are, so I'm going to show you just so you get 24 as an accurate count. So that's number 1 with your marker. There's a stitch right here. Sorry, my camera shut off. So there's a stitch right there. This is not a stitch. This next one here is a stitch. So that is not a stitch. I know you probably want to go into that, but it's not a stitch. So skip that. This next one is a tough stitch to get into. I'm not sure why. I think maybe just the way I secure it. Too tight maybe. And then this next stitch. So now we're at the next toe. We're going to do that first stitch. That is not a stitch, and this is a stitch. So if you're going into something that's tight, if you've pulled down like me, that's probably why it's tight. It's because the way I pulled down. So you're going into the right one. If you're going into one that doesn't feel like a stitch, it's not a stitch. Oh, you know what? I did not go into that next one. So these two are kind of on top of each other. I just went into the wrong one. This one, next toe. Boy, I'm struggling with these stitches. I think my tension's been tight since I started this. That is not a stitch. This next one's a stitch. So, having said that, finish your 1 single crochet around and you should have 24 stitches. So I've got my 3 rows done. This is what it should look like. And that sits flat. So when you stuff it, that's meant to be flat. So that's what it looks like. So we're going to decrease a little bit. So we're going to do 2 single crochets and a decrease. This brings you down to 18 stitches, which I thought was a fair size for a set of legs for a doll that big. So that's number 1. That's number 2. And a decrease. So I'll show you again for beginners. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and then your decrease. So you're using these 2 stitches. You're going to go in, pull up a loop, go into your second stitch, pull up a loop. You should have 3 stitches on. You're going to yarn over and go through all 3. That's a decrease. And then repeat. 2 single crochets and a decrease. So if you've done everything right, you should have decreased at your marker. So now we have the size of the leg. So for the next 15 rows, you're going to do 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches. Stuff along the way because that'll be the end of it. When you're done your 15 rows, you're going to be able to fasten off, and then you can start building your other leg. So I'll put my I'll come back with you for the fasten off part, and then I'll put my screen up for the pattern. So 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches for 15 rows, and I'll see you on the other side. So I've got my 15 rows done, and this is what it should look like. Now, if you don't have a row counter like I do, which I didn't click my last one, but if you don't have a row counter like I do, first of all, get one, because they're so handy. And so let's start counting. We should have 19 rows just above the toe. That's where we started. We're not going to count any of this, and we won't count the toe area. So we started our 1 single crochet at the toe. Count on this side of your marker. when you count. So you should have 19. And that's 19. So start with the row just above your toe. 19 rows. So that's how you know that it's big enough. So when I stuff this guy, I like to push out for people that have never seen me stuff anything before. This could be your first time watching me. I like to spread it out, dig a hole, and then stuff the hole. That gives you a nice finish, in my opinion. You may have a better way to stuff. So I dig a nice hole, and then I take a little bit and I fill the hole. And then I do it again until I'm at the top of my project. So when you make your other leg, which you're going to go to now, you're going to fasten off with this one. Let me start there. Let me start with how you fasten off. Now I can't fasten off with this one because I've already made my leg. But when you fasten off, you don't need you just need enough to sew the two legs together because there's going to be a hole. So we just need enough to sew 2 stitches to 2 stitches. So you don't need to leave a long tail. So when you do your slip, that's a wrong hook. When you do your slip stitch and you fasten off, I just want you to go into the next stitch and pull this through. And I'm not going to do it because I've already done it. And then pull up. And that should even it right out because we do work in a spiral, so you're going to have that little dip down. So when you do that and then you pull up, it just stops that little dip from happening. So go ahead, make your second leg, but don't fasten off the second leg. We need that one to be attached because we're just going to continue to crochet around them just like this. But make sure you stuff these to be the same size. And I'll meet you back when you're done. Okay, I think my legs are the same size. See, now the more I look at them, okay, I think they're the same size. They're pretty close. So you can have him standing with his toes out like this, or have him standing with his toes together, but either way, you decide how you want him to stand. I'm going to bring my string around just a couple more stitches, because I want this in a certain spot to sew. So I just want to sew a couple of stitches together for these legs, because I want my toes just pointing outwards. But double check before you do it. So you're just going to take your straggler, you're going to try to go into the stitch across, and then just go into the next stitch. So much stuffing. So you just want to crochet using 2 stitches, because I think that's all you need. I don't think, I mean, if there is a hole that occurs, you can always fill it later, but you're, oh my gosh, picking up all the stuffing. But I'm going to be using this stitch and this stitch at the front, and then these 2 at the back. So I'm pretty sure that's all I need to do. So once you're satisfied and you go back and forth a couple times, just make a knot, preferably without all your polyfill in there, and give it a little wiggle. That tightens that knot up, and then you can just drop that right down into your doll. No need to mess around. So we're leaving no spaces, obviously. We're leaving no leg gaps like we would like my other dolls. So we're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. It's hard to hold on to. Sorry, it's so hard to do with the camera between your legs. I'm so used to holding this close to my body. So once you get over here to where you made your stitches, just jump across to the next stitch over here that's usable. Keeping a nice snug fit on that, you're going to continue around. So I've got this spot here where I fastened off this other leg. You're just going to have to force your way into that space because you can't leave a gap. So just force your way into it. It is reasonably difficult. And then just make sure you're keeping everything tight when you do your next stitch. So I've got one more stitch, and then I'm going to slip across, keeping everything nice and tight, and then to my marker. So there should be 32 stitches. So your next round is going to be, so we instantly have to increase obviously for his belly. So put your 1 single crochet in there. We're going to do 3 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. With your markers, always number 1. So that's 3 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. 3 single crochets and an increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So you should have 40 stitches. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. So that's number 1. It's 4 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So for the next 5 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of those 48 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. Don't forget, count that as 1. Alrighty, that's my 5 rows. So this is what it should look like. And just checking the crotch, there's no holes. So your next round, we're going to start decreasing now. So I'm going to make you do 2 rounds at the same time. I'm just trying to save time on the video so that they're not so large and long. And I think putting up my screens certainly helps, but we're going to start doing 2 rows on my screen now. So this row is going to be a decrease row. So we're going to do 4 single crochets and a decrease. So put your first one in there with your marker. So that's number 1, always number 1. So do 4 single crochets and then a decrease. So you're going to repeat this all the way around, and this will bring you down to 40 stitches from 48. We're at 48 stitches. This will bring you back down to 40 stitches, and then your next round I want you just to do 1 single crochet in each of those 40 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease, and it's going to take you down to 32 stitches. And then you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of those 32 stitches. So that's number 1. That's 3 single crochets and then your decrease. And repeat. So these next few rounds are going to be a little bit different. So your next round will be 2 single crochet and an increase, or a decrease, sorry, or decreasing. But then after that you're going to do 8 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch, not just 1. So that's number 1. 2 single crochets and a decrease. All the way around. So you should have 24 stitches. Just do a little bit of stuffing, and then your next 8 rows you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 24 stitches. You want his belly somewhat porky, because he just seems like a short little porky guy. But you definitely want to make sure the crook of his legs are full enough. I guess this is his butt. I'll make sure his butt's porky too. So this is what you should have after your 8 rows. So this is his belly, this is his chest. So now we're going to start working on building his head. So now we're going to start increasing. So you're going to do 2 single crochets and an increase. There's number 1. And there's number 2. And then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So this will bring you back up to 32 stitches. We're at 24 stitches. Now we're going back up to 32. So repeat this all the way around. 2 single crochets and an increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase, bringing you up to 40 stitches. That's number 1, 2, and 3, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. Number 1. Four single crochets, and then your increase. So your next round is going to be 5. So we're at 48 stitches, which is what the body was. So we need his head to be a little bit bigger. So your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase. This brings you to 56 stitches. And then you're going to do, I'll put my screen up, and then you're going to do 4 rows of 1 single crochet in each of those 56 stitches. So I know it's squishy, but you're going to get a nice round head. That's number 1. That's 5 single crochets and then your increase. So just keep your stitches spread out. You're not going to stretch anything. Everything will go back into shape. So I'm done my 4 rows. I had to move my camera up because this is a pretty big doll. So I'm going to stuff it before I keep going. Now keep in mind, this head is going to be very large because of it being Yoda. You need to make sure you fill this part really well because the ears we put on it are also very large. So go ahead and do your stuffing. Just be sure not to stuff it so much that you can see your stuffing through it. But you really want to make sure that that isn't. So I'm not going to stuff this part, not yet. There's lots of stuff we have to do, like his whole entire face. So first we want to get to this point where we can start making face parts. And it's probably not going to be in this video because this video is already long enough. So we're going to decrease down to where we stop to do our face parts, and then when we come back into part 2 we'll finish that part. So your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and a decrease. So that's number 1. So that's 5 single crochets and then your decrease. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and a decrease, taking you down to 40 stitches. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets and then your decrease. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease, bringing you down to 32 stitches. That's number 1 with your marker. That's 3 single crochets and then your decrease. Repeat this all the way around. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. And this is going to be our last round for this video. Please don't work ahead of this because we're not closing up the head right now. So we need to do all the face stuff first. So that's number 1. And that's number 2. And your decrease. And repeat. So I am done my 2 single crochet and decrease. This is the end of part 1. I know it seems odd to stop in the middle of something, but this video has already been so long. So the face is not going to be easy to do without stuffing it, but we're just going to have to, we're going to do the majority of the face anyway. We're going to do the eyes, the nose, the mouth. The eyebrows will come later in a few rows, just because I have to make the head smaller. So next video we're going to finish this, and then we're going to do the arms, the ears, and the coat, and the face. So yeah, finishing this, the arms, ears, coat, and then your Yoda is complete. So I'll see you in part 2.